So this thing had a $10 million budget. Looks gorgeous for 10 million. I'm sure because I thought it was shot in India. They actually shot it in Indonesia. I do wonder if the money spent a lot better in Indonesia. It's done 35 million at the box office, but Netflix paid $30 million for it. So like right out of the gate, the people who made the film, the production company who made the film, because remember, their production budget doesn't include any marketing. So they got fucking 3 times their production budget, and then it was somebody else's fucking problem, which is awesome. Like, if as a producer, like, that is ideal.
I couldn't come up with a clever opening since I knew I was going to be butchering the pronunciation of everyone's name. So this week, we're talking movies. We're talking Monkey Man, starring Dev Patel, Charlotte Copley, and Peter Bash, written by Paul Anguliana, John Colley, and Dev Patel, who also directed. Chris, I hope your mom fucks harder than you fight.
Well, I call her Nicki Minaj. Big bumper, nice headlights. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? As Scott said, we are going to be talking about the recent released or new release, depending on how you want to frame this out, Monkey Man. It is Dev Patel's directorial debut. Scott, take us away, man.
Yeah.
I love how I couldn't pronounce Monkey Man. Man.
I know. Like, I'm just going to give you a quick little list, right? Like Wes Anderson, John Madden, Neil Blomkamp, M. Night Shyamalan, Danny Boyle. Like, these are just some of the directors that Dev's worked under as an actor in his almost 2 decades career. So I believe it's an amazing route for his learning tree to grow from. And
that's just films. That doesn't even include all the TV work he's done.
Yeah, and this is his first feature film. He did co-direct a short, and I think it's a good start. I see a basis, like his visual storytellings is well done, but I think, like, for the movie as a whole, this is really like a middle of the road movie for me. I didn't overly hate it, but I didn't really have anything to gush over it either. So Chris, like, how did you like this movie?
So it's funny. So we actually had to delay the recording of the show because I actually had to finish the movie. And I'm glad I did. I try to always watch all the films that we do on the show in their entirety. But I watched this film. I was very excited. We've been talking about having this as an episode for a while. And probably about the 50% mark of this film, I was like, this film is garbage. And I think some of that has to do with the fact the way it was marketed originally. It was marketed more like Indian John Wick. And it does eventually get to that kind of style. But the first half is setup. And they don't do a standard 10, 15 minute inciting incident. You know, why are we here now? So you're kind of waiting for that. And it doesn't happen. So the film feels like it's dragging. And again, when you are kind of told that you're going to be watching one kind of film and then you're watching a different type of film, you kind of have to rejig yourself.
Gotcha, bitch.
I actually was not going to finish this fucking movie. I was just going to come in here. I was going to be like, it's fucking unwatchable. Monkey poop on the Monkey Man. And yeah. But because we had some time before the show, Scott was able to like move his schedule around. I finished it, and the second half is totally different. And I don't just mean at the midpoint, the story changes different. Like, I mean, it's like almost a totally separate film. Yeah, we can talk about this more, Scott, but like, what do you think of that, what I've said so far?
Yeah, like this film's only 2 hours 1 minute, and I do think it dragged.
Yeah, that first hour
Uh,
feels like two.
that's the thing. Like to me, I think we shifted a little bit. Like I didn't mind the beginning part where it was all set up and he's just like, getting beat up, right? To me, like the movie lost me once it got to the Rocky montage, which was him like punching the bag,
I
like
was
the
actually going to
Sandman.
say it was more like it reminded me of like Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme, but without all the cool other stuff.
Yeah, like he didn't get to kick down a fucking bamboo tree, but
Kick
you
the
know, he,
tree, kick the
boom.
tree.
Uh, but that was the thing, like and I'm gonna butcher it, but the group that he ended up saving him or restored him, like healed him up.
In that temple or whatever.
Yeah, that is a group where it's like the transgender people
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that like live in their own community, so they don't like really bother anybody, and they're all about like you know helping and like becoming whole. Like that group, fine. But when you have the Rocky montage or the kickboxer montage, and they're all like trying to help him train, and they're punching the bag too, and they're all giggling, and then you fast forward 15 minutes later, and all of a sudden these are like fucking ninja warriors coming out like with like beating up a whole group. You're like, how did we get from here to here?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. I think it just became like, okay, like it was always saying how they were supposed to be like great warriors, but then they didn't really show it. It just seemed like, and I don't know if this was the writing or whatever, but it just seemed like when you're getting to know them, it's just stereotypical, like racist kind of, not racist, but like derogatory, like depiction of a transgender like male, where super overly feminine, um you know and everything, but then all of a sudden it's like, no, these are badasses. Like they should have been badasses from the beginning, right?
Yeah, I think yeah, yeah. If I can pick up what you're putting down here, it's that like if you're gonna do the training montage. So the other thing too is in the training montage, it's mostly just him punching the bag. I mean, they did like the Indian drum where it's like da da da. But yeah, I would have liked to see those warriors kind of like developed a bit in that sequence where they're really training Dev Patel to become that next level warrior or whatever. Because he also basically goes from shitty, basically fighter that takes a fall all the time to John Wick. Like, and you don't see that training, which again, in John Wick, we don't see the training because the whole point is the Baba Yaga already has that backstory. And that, like, when you watch John Wick 1, it's like, you fucked with who? Oh, shit. Like, you are so fucked up. But in Dev Patel's situation, you're showing him as, like, kind of a mediocre fighter. So then you need to bridge that to, and you have a montage. Like, you've already decided to set up a training montage. And show us a passage of time. We're gonna need a montage. So fucking have them train him. Because it almost felt like, especially when the one woman comes in, the bigger one, and punches the bag, it's
And
almost
starts
like,
giggling, and
but
she
it's
starts
also more
giggling.
like Dev Patel's teaching them,
Yeah.
where it should be like Dev Patel, can't get a combo, and she should just like brush him aside and be like, bah! Oh yeah, visual medium. I'm like punching into my camera. You know what I mean? So that part wasn't great. And again, so I recently watched a noir film from, I think, 1949 called The Small Back Room.
Giggity, giggity, giggity goo. Stick around.
And it did something similar in the sense of, again, we get very used to 10, 15 minutes in, you have an inciting incident, which then your story kind of comes from that, right? There's another way to tell a story, which is like more like a book, right? Where you just open it, you read through the chapters, and stuff happens, the end. And in this noir film, which is done by the really famous director team, Powell and Pressburger, that happens. Like, it opens, there's some shit, then some other shit, movie ends. And if you're not ready for that, you're waiting for that inciting incident. And again, this happened with Monkey Man as well. Again, I think that by cutting the trailer as like John Wick, the reality is the John Wick stuff is not until the second half for the most part. Like there's some other setup that happens, but you're waiting for all this action that's not coming. And it's also much more of he's trying to do a political drama, talking about the connection between religion and politics in India, to the point that it has, to this day, it still has not released officially in India because the film board there refuses to even like watch it. Like, and they've already pulled out a bunch of the like a bunch of stuff that's not even in the version that we would have been able to see. It will be available on the Blu-ray around like religion and politics and stuff like that. So this may not even get a release in India, which will be unfortunate. But I mean, it is highly political, and it's essentially talking about current Indian politics. Like Modi, in my opinion, is the leader that they're basically referencing in this film. So if you're Indian actually, and you're like aware of the political situation in back home or in your current country, please leave us a comment or something like that. I'd really love to know what Indian and Hindi speakers or even Punjabi or Muslims, what they think of this film, if they've seen it, because obviously like we're kind of two white dudes in Canada talking about it.
Good day, I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug. How's it going, eh?
What else you got, Scott? What else?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, this is well known, but you know, in terms of trivia, like this movie was originally set for streaming on Netflix, until Jordan Peele saw a version of saw the film and felt that it deserved a theatrical release, so he acquired it from Netflix under his production company, which is
Monkey Paw, which I think is a Monkey Man from Monkey Paw.
yeah, and then so that production company has a deal with Universal, and that's why it got released, right? Like that.
But actually, hold on, cool. I just want to talk about, because the numbers on that are really interesting. So this thing had a $10 million budget. Looks gorgeous for 10 million. I'm sure because I thought it was shot in India. They actually shot it in Indonesia. I do wonder if the money spent a lot better in Indonesia. It's done 35 million at the box office, but Netflix paid $30 million for it. So like right out of the gate, the people who made the film, the production company who made the film, because remember, their production budget doesn't include any marketing. So they got fucking 3 times their production budget. And then it was somebody else's fucking problem, which is awesome. Like, if as a producer, like, that is ideal. Because all your investors just got paid and everybody fucking made money. And now it looks like, you know, if we're into the 35 million, Netflix has got again, I don't know what their deal is with Universal. I know Universal got, I'm assuming it's distribution rights for 10 million. So Netflix's actual exposure is about 20 million at this point. So we'll see. Like I said, the fact that it hasn't opened in India is kind of, it may be good or bad. I don't know. It might have opened in India and got fucking rating bombed. Like if people are angry because of the depiction of like some spiritual leaders and stuff, maybe not good. But India is also a very big fucking market to not have your film open in, right? So
yes, I agree. But yeah, like in what I was saying before you went on your rant, like I think that's cool, because nowadays it's usually the reverse, right? Where it's like, oh, this movie, like we discussed with Roadhouse, right? Like, oh, this movie, we think it's going to be distributed in theaters, but they're like, nah, you're just going to streaming, right? To have somebody believe in your work so much that they're like, listen, we're gonna buy this and we're gonna try to get it to the masses. I think it is an amazing story. And like I said, like in terms of his, like as Dev Patel, like what was your opinion as Dev Patel as a director? Right, like I think the action sequences were really done.
Yeah, his action stuff was great. I think the script probably needed a bit of a rewrite. It is a bit sluggish in the beginning. I mean, so actually, I'm going to use one of my quotes here, right? So Justin Clark from Slant Magazine, because this kind of encapsulates what I want to say. Monkey Man is in no rush to get where it's going, and Dev Patel puts a lot of trust in his audience to stick with him to see where it arrives. I think he might be putting a little too much trust in his audience because it's not pitched a certain way to the audience. So if you're watching an hour of this thing and it hasn't gotten anywhere, you just think, oh, this film isn't going to go anywhere. It's like, so you're in the car driving in the wrong fucking direction. You don't expect to then go through a fucking time warp and end up at your destination. You just go, the fucking movie is the car, the movie or whatever is moving in the wrong direction. And I think he needs to get it back on the tracks a little sooner. That said, for a first fucking time director, it's not bad. It's not bad.
All right. So again, second time he did direct a short.
Yeah, but this, I mean, come on. You can't compare directing a
your
short.
First, but you gotta say his first feature.
Gator don't play no shit. You feel me? Gator never been about that. Never been about playing no shit.
Right?
It is, yeah, it's his first feature. But he didn't co-direct this. He's the sole director on this project. So
yes. Yeah, but like you're saying in terms of the marketing, is that really his fault or the marketing department?
It doesn't matter if it's his fault. The reality is that's how it's marketed.
Like I thought, see, you thought it was going to be John Wick. And personally, I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was going to be like Indian Batman. I thought he was going to wear that fucking monkey mask maybe the whole time, right? So no one knew who he was. And he was and I thought that's what the setup kind of was going to be, like that he infiltrated it. So he's a worker there and he kind of knows the ins and outs. And then he puts on the monkey mask to fuck shit up, right?
That's cool too. So actually that brings me to an interesting point. So I think one of the things I would have preferred to see him do, and I feel like I know why he went the direction he did, is that I agree with you. I think he should have been like infiltrating the whole time, scoping the place out, because then you get to show all that stuff. You get to show the drugs and the women being abused and all that type of stuff. What I didn't like is that he tried to do the assassination then and failed, like miserably failed. And like he should have just gotten like they should have just been able to kill him then. And I think that was just set up so that he could, like, the hero's journey, right? The hero has to stumble and then it rises like a phoenix from the ashes. I'm just like, yeah, they just would have fucking killed him because he doesn't have the skill set that he has later to really defend himself. So I think it would have been better to just do like more him being like observing and then doing his training and then, yeah, vigilante, John Wick or Batman, right?
Yeah, but in contrast, I would put that bathroom fight up against the Tom Cruise against Henry Cavill bathroom fight in whatever Mission Impossible that one was
except he's not Tom Cruise's character.
No, I know what you're saying, but I was just saying, like, in terms of the way both scenes were kind of set up, right? Like there's a lot of similarities, but they used a lot more objects in this one than they did in the.
I'm not saying the scene itself as fight choreography doesn't work.
No. I get what you're saying.
Perspective.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but that one did, like, this one did have, like, it was the one scene I kind of enjoyed where he's like stuck in that closet and looks in the mirror and he was like, fuck it, okay, I'm going for it, and he tries to jump through and it's bulletproof glass and he just falls back.
Yeah. Listen, the action is great, and like one of my favorite scenes is the knife in the throat. Both my hands can't be used, so I take my teeth, bite the knife, and like I think he twists it with his head or something like that and drives it into Buddy's throat or something. I was like, oh yeah, like that's what I'm talking about, baby. Like I love that, like, found object violence.
Oh yeah, it was super visceral and it was more gory than I thought it was going to be too.
Yeah, and I mean the fight choreography and cinematography is really well done. Sharon Mir, who did Whiplash and Coach Carter, he also did one of the recent Mel Gibson revenge-o-matic films or whatever. He's like, I do hope he gets recognized for his cinematography because it looks really good, and he's doing everything from like handheld to like face forward camera work. You can see some drone work. Like, yeah, the set decoration is great. Like I said, if you're gonna watch it, you can watch it on Amazon. make sure you stick with it. Or, and this is going to sound really shitty, fast forward 40 minutes ish. Or maybe 35, because I don't want you to miss that bathroom scene. But almost just, if you just pick up the movie there, you don't, in my opinion, you don't really miss anything.
True. I don't think you do either. Even like when you're talking about the writing, I always thought that, well, I thought that watching it, the workers that worked for this cartel, the ones that ended up teaming up with them, like their motivations, like it just seemed like it flipped a switch like super fucking quick, right? Like the one guy who did the Mickey Minaj joke, the short guy, and then his reveal, like him just all of a sudden, like, you know, he's helping him now because they thought he was part of his
but I don't
crew.
think he's so, but I don't think he's not a gangster. He's sort of just like the in-between guy, because he's being treated like shit by the whole establishment too. Like there's very much an anti-establishment vibe to this film. So to me, he's not one of the main gangsters. He's just like the guy that, like, because I don't even think he gets the drugs himself. I think he's just the go-between between the hotel and the drug cartel or whatever, right?
Yeah, he's the only one that gets, like, he gets to go into that room, right? But also the prostitute too, right? Like I don't think they really had that much, unless it was on the cutting room floor, but like I don't think there was much real interaction between the two of them for her to give that much of a shit for him.
I don't know if she, oh yeah, I do feel like they did try and make it like a little bit like she cared too much about him. The end thing though that ends up happening, and I don't want to spoil that, I think that's just like her like being like, fuck you, motherfucker. Like,
yeah, it was the opportunity.
100%, 100%. But yeah, I do feel like they try to set up some like romance or friendship that should not exist. Like he meets her what, twice?
Yeah, and then like he watches her get like finger fucked, and he couldn't handle it, and then she just like that,
and then she's out back having like a smoke, like, you know,
well, he's like fucking treating the dog. That's when he first finds the dog, and then like thinking about it, she then had to go down the elevator, go outside around, because he like left.
Yeah, and like, he's out like the like where the kitchen staff are. Yeah, she's still then, like a high-end like piece of ass, right? It's like, why is she can and they're clearly smoking there. Like, why did she need to, like, I get maybe she doesn't want to be around the dude, but she clearly has quarters or something. Anyway, they kind of force those two characters together. I don't know. Do you recommend it? Like, do you think anybody should watch this film? What's your take on that?
Yeah, like I said, like I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I think, you know, out of respect, I think people should like check it out for his first feature directorial debut. And I do hope he gets the opportunity as well to try to do others as well. Right?
I'm sure he will. I mean, the fact that the thing made money right off the bat, like that's going to green light you in the future. Like, it's definitely not going to be a red light.
Yeah, but do the people think of the situation more that, you know, it was just pulled out, like Netflix only paid a certain amount because it was going to go streaming, and then they pulled it to theaters, and that's why, kind of, because it was limited budget. Because in reality, no one, like the studios aren't really making these type of movies anymore. These low, like 10 to $30 million films anymore. Everything. Yeah,
and like, but that's what I mean. The fact that he made a successful film, it was under budget or it was on budget, it made money. Like, that's definitely a ticket forward versus not. Like, if it had been a bomb, that's a totally different story. Like, the film made money. He's still Dev Patel too. Like, his name alone, especially as someone who's acting in it, I think it'd be interesting to see if he starts directing projects where he is not a performer in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I do definitely want to see more out of his work.
So a film I would suggest watching that is very, very good and also very, very violent, that stars Dev Patel, is Hotel Mumbai. I saw that in the theater when it came out, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy violent. And it's basically based on, I believe, a true story of like when the Hotel Mumbai was taken over by terrorists. Again, it might be totally fictionalized. I can't remember, but like it's a solid film. Lots of good killing and kind of like trying to escape from terrorists and everything else. So, I mean, if you want to double feature them, watch Hotel Mumbai, then watch the last hour of Monkey Man. That's my not quite double feature recommendation for you.
All right, you could just do like the first half of Monkey Man and then skip right to the best exotic hotel Marigold.
The best exotic Marigold Hotel, that one?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
part two. Or part two.
Yeah,
right?
or part two. You could go either way. You could split up this movie and go however way you want to go. All right.
Yeah, man. Anyway, you got anything else? I feel like other than my quote, I've said everything. I've got one more quote to finish out our show. So, okay. With a Rotten Tomatoes score of 89 from the critics and 84 from the audience, as we said, $10 million budget, so far done about 35 million with a running time of 2 hours. Monkey Man, this is what Bill Avery of New York Magazine had to say. As an action flick, Monkey Man is often quite entertaining, but it keeps distracting you with images of the film it's trying and often failing to be.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. So do you think they like make Monkey Man too?
So, I mean, in some of the stuff that I was reading, I mean, there are people speculating that maybe like does Monkey Man become a character like John Wick? Does he become like a Hindu or at least Indian John Wick?
Well, that's the thing too. Like they brought up like because it like he chose that because of a book or a nursery rhyme his mom used to read, right? It was like right, like, and that's like because of that setup, that's where I thought this movie was going, where he like embodies this like, you know, avenging.
So maybe he does now. Maybe this is your origin story.
Yeah, but he didn't have the mask on.
But he could,
you know
put
what
it
I
back
mean?
on. But he could put it
No,
back
no,
on.
no. What I mean is for the like in reality, for the story to like the witnesses would have to have seen like the Monkey Man. You know what I mean?
And actually, that's something we didn't bring up in the main part. Is that like, so he's got the monkey mask on. You see him coming back to the hotel, and he takes it off like right away. Like even before he takes care of the guards, he takes it off. It's like, no, just keeping that monkey mask on would have been way better. I don't know why he made that choice as a director. Like I would have just done the whole thing with the monkey mask on.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.